Let's now continue with our Youth Day discussions. And for our discussion today, we're focusing on the issue of preserving languages. We've roped in PanSALB Senior Provincial Manager, Eastern Cape, Dr. Xolisa Tshongolo, and NAPTOSA Western Cape Youth Leader, Anethemba Mvandaba. Good afternoon to you both, and thank you so much for your time. Let's start with you, Anethemba Mvandaba. As we reflect about the youth of 1976, their fight was fundamentally about the right to quality education, an issue, quite frankly, that to an extent still persists today, considering that South Africa is still grappling with its past in many sectors. How do you view the importance and perhaps the role of languages in schools?
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. The importance of preserving language in our societies is that it should not be only viewed as a conversational thing. It's conversational tool, but it roots into our culture, our beliefs, and our values. And preserving it makes it important that we are able to maintain and to preserve our culture. It is important that also in schools that the language is taught. The learners are taught their mother tongue so as to preserve their culture, so as to know where they come from. It should not be that one language is superior than the other, but the languages can coexist.
And Dr. Tshongolo, let me bring you into this discussion. Today is a good enough backdrop to speak about, constitutional rights to mother tongue education, particularly, and your role as PanSALB, your role to actively preserve languages, especially when you consider that June 16 is emblematic not only of youth resistance, but also of language oppression. We recall, of course, when Afrikaans was imposed in schools. Just your thoughts then around those issues.
Thank you, ma'am, and good afternoon to everyone. We as PanSALB, as much as the situation back then was different than what it is now, but what is happening now is it still relates to what was happening then. For example, Afrikaans was imposed, and then that created chaos. And even today, now English is imposed also. And now that is also now, even if it's not creating chaos in the streets, but it is creating chaos in everything. Because if you look at the majority of the country is African language speakers. Those people, for example, are talking about skilling the youth or skilling everyone. So in order for one to do that, you use language. Be it you are using slides, machines, whatever you are using, but language will always be at the center part of everything that you do. Meaning that what was happening then in relation to Afrikaans is what now is happening now in relation to English. As much as now there is no force that is being used, but in a way, English still dominates and it still negatively affects those who are supposed to be benefiting in this same democracy. For example, now our children, they go to school every day. I'm talking about African language speakers, speaking children. They go to school every day, because they're trying to catch up with what is being taught in schools, which they struggle to understand. That's because of language. So meaning that mother language education, there's no doubt and there's no debate, there's no discussion about it. It is just needs to be implemented so that we can all benefit in this democracy of today.
Absolutely. Anethemba, just having listened to what the doc had to say, when we look at schools, language in schools can also be seen as a tool that really strengthens equality, inclusion, and cohesion. But you hear people say, while there is diversity, in terms of learners, some of them don't feel part of the whole, particularly now when you're hearing that English is now becoming more dominant. How do we, marry the two so that we right the wrongs, How do people then start to feel more inclusive in the various schools, given the various, different cultures? And so we're not ticking the box, so to speak, but we are really authentically including everybody.
Again, talking about the mother tongue in the classroom, when you explain something to your learners, I myself being an educator, so when you explain something to the learners in isiXhosa, you find that they are following more than when you only explain in English. So it is very important that we speak the language that they understand, so that in turn they can be able to narrate whatever they were taught in English should their need be. So it is important that we include them in the language that they are understanding, because in the end, what is happening now in schools is that we tend to push the curriculum. You just explain in English, and in the end, no one is following because they don't understand even what you are talking about. But when you code switch to speak to the language that they are understanding, then you will find that now the learners are following and they are thinking, oh, so this is what you were talking about. So it's better that they connect in their mother tongue. And it's very important that us as educators, we bring it to the classroom for the learners to understand. And also it's important that now the communities, the parents need to be educated that there is nothing wrong with the learners being taught in their own languages. These official languages can all coexist. So there should be no language that is deemed superior than other languages. So this is a dialogue we as South Africans need to talk about, that how do we now, given that mother tongue learning will be implemented, how do we ensure that the languages, the African languages that will be implemented are also professionally recognized in higher spaces now? So we should not only leave it in the classroom.
Absolutely. And Dr. Tshongolo, I want to throw that last remark and that last question to that Anethemba has just raised, in ensuring that we maintain those African languages and in a professional manner. But also, as you answer that, and as you wrap up our conversation, you've of course touched on the fact that not enough is being done to safeguard linguistic rights, especially when you consider that we are a long way still to quality education. But how do you then tackle that question that Anethemba has just recently posed?
Many people, they tend to think that having many languages in the country is actually a problem, and it's actually a stumbling block towards educating children in the languages they understand. Actually, it is not. It is actually a resource. Having many languages in one classroom, for example, means having multiple of resources. So we need to value and appreciate the languages that we have in the country and then use them as a resource. If you can't explain something in Setswana, you can still explain it in isiSotho. And the same applies across all the languages. So we need to really understand this. And actually, we've wasted a lot of time trying to educate one another about this. But I think now it is time to actually implement, so that we can all, as I was saying, Peter, so that we can all benefit in this democracy. Because as we speak now, some of us are falling behind. For example, now we're talking June 16 now, as in today. But if you were to fly your helicopter, go to the rural areas, for example, where people speak their languages, you'll find that very little is happening there. Or actually it's just quiet, meaning that they're not really in this same mood and same mode that the country is at, purely because of a language that is being used to communicate things. So we need to ensure that languages, some people, they would think that if we say children must be educated by using their language, they would think that we say English must go away or African must go away. No language must go away. All those languages must exist and they must be used as a resource, because that's what we need in order to advance our education. So we do need to ensure that all of those things are resolved and they do take place, which now the Department of Education has already started doing that. Yeah. And we need to support that, all of us in the country.
All right, I want to thank you both for your time. Really do appreciate it. That is PanSALB Senior Provincial Manager in the Eastern Cape, Dr. Xolisa Tshongolo, as well as NAPTOSA Western Cape Youth Leader Anethemba Mvandaba, of course, speaking about just preserving languages, of course, concerningly saying that we are a way off still in South Africa to go in terms of implementing and entrenching mother tongue languages and African languages as a whole in schools in the country.